Hey, gorgeous. Welcome to Flamingo Up, the podcast where we help women rise, reclaim their voice, and take charge of their life and career. I'm Allie, the founder of EmpowHEARD, where we support women worldwide in overcoming workplace challenges through coaching, community, and empowerment. Each week, we dive into real issues with expert advice, actionable tips, and inspiring stories to help you transform from victim to victor. With listeners from across the globe, today's episode is extra special. We're exploring breaking the cycle, why some women undermine each other, an essential topic for anyone navigating workplace dynamics or seeking to build stronger professional relationships. And because it's Christmas Eve, a time to reflect, connect, and nurture, I want to invite you to give yourself the gift of empowerment this season. Together, we'll break free from the cycles of competition and replace them with collaboration, trust, and mutual support. So let's flamingo up, gorgeous. Today, I am thrilled to announce Katie Kozlowski, a master energy and embodiment coach and the creator of Shakti Bomb Way. I hope I said that right, Katie. I know I've been practicing. She helps smart, spiritually driven, and highly motivated people create breakthroughs so they can create more of what they want by connecting to their core beliefs, needs, and desires. Her biggest passions include helping other people break patterns, smash boxes, step into bigger possibilities, and embrace their true nature. And Katie is wild about watching beautiful souls like us all who are ready for a change and step into their power. Now, for the past 15 years, Katie has helped people overcome their fears, heal trauma, restore their power, and create big breakthroughs. And her signature offers, Glow Wild and Free from Metamorphosis, help hundreds of souls transform and step into freedom and joy with ease. Katie, welcome to Flamingo Up.
Hi. Da, 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 da. I've arrived.
You have arrived. Merry
Happy
Christmas, girl.
Christmas. Yeah, this special time of year. The most
Absolutely.
wonderful time of the year.
I think so as well. Now, Katie, your work focuses on empowering women to reclaim their worth and navigate challenges confidently. Can you share how your journey led to you to help women break toxic cycles like undermining behaviours in the workplace?
Sure. I have a variety of experiences in my past that have led me here. So, ranging from, unfortunately, sexual trauma, things like that, and alcoholism, wonderful things like that as well. And also a tremendous amount of bullying. And I know we're talking about sort of, relationships, women in particular, undermining one another in the workplace and a lot of the types of things that I experienced that really caused me a tremendous amount of emotional hurt came from my relationships with women. And so we're here talking about this today because it's a key piece of how I got started on my journey, and also some of the things that became more prominent
Hmm.
as I came into my power. I think that that's the interesting thing is the sexual trauma, things like that. That's a whole nother conversation for another day. That was with men, but the undermining, the, being put down, being shamed for being confident and courageous and
Yeah.
kind was something that happened to me an awful lot from high school all the way up until adulthood, even in my spiritual community. And so it's a big piece of kind of how I got here, and actually the hardest part for me to have overcome in the past.
Well, I'm so glad that you're here. And I know you've been through a lot. And I just say I want to celebrate you for where you are today.
Thank you. I
So
have climbed to the top of the mountain.
you have indeed. Let's dive into today's topic, female competition at work and why women sometimes undermined each other. Now, Katie, what do you believe are the root causes of this behavior?
Well, it's interesting. I think there's a lot of different things going on. I think culturally, we're set up for competition. So everybody is, worrying about how they look. So when people are focused on themselves, it's a very me centered reality, right? Everybody's worried about how they look, getting enough attention, getting validation, which stems from insecurity and lack and doubt and really truly low self-esteem and low self-worth. So there's all of these different dynamics and pieces happening at the same time. But the biggest issue is that because of that, we don't really know how to collaborate. We don't really know how to sort of raise one another up. It's difficult for people to see somebody else doing well and be able to celebrate them or support them because they're so worried about themselves that they feel like they need to tear people down. I think that it's just a common misconception around what being empowered means and sort of what it means to actually be okay with yourself as an individual, right? So there's a lot of different pieces that come into play. And, the fact that we just don't have a lot of self-confidence, self-worth, we're not really taught how to love ourselves properly. The whole thing just spins out of control.
Absolutely. Now, we know many women have experienced passive aggressive comments, exclusion, or gossip in the workplace, but they really struggle to understand why it happens. So, what do you think drives this kind of subtle undermining, even in environments that seem to be collaborative?
I wish I knew. I don't think we have an official answer for any of it. I think that, again, it's coming from this desire to appear to have it all together. And so because we're bred with insecurity, right? We're bred with the need to appear a certain way. We need to have it all together. And so when somebody sees somebody else doing well, right, that's typically when those undermining comments show up. So somebody might be confident. Like in my experience, I was the confident one. I was the confident, committed sort of, I really believed in myself. And I also was very kind to everyone else. I wasn't attacking anyone else. I wasn't putting anybody else down. I was just existing. And as a result of me being in my power, other people didn't know what to do with that. And so instead of sort of maybe take a step back and say, wow, look at her doing such a wonderful job, or wow, look at this person who is so comfortable with who she is and who I really like that about this person. The sort of natural reaction is to tear me down. And so I think that that's the way we handle insecurity, right? That's the way we're unconsciously attacking one another. Is if you see somebody who's actually expanding, the natural inclination is to sort of pop their balloon.
Mhm.
So the undermining, the exclusiveness, the competition, the backbiting, all of that is coming from this desire to sort of take the person that is not even on a pedestal, but who's just expanding and bring them back down either to your level or actually become higher than them. So it's a lot of power play. It's a lot of, struggling to sort of be the one on top. And I've seen this, I experienced it even with teachers. I had teachers undermine me and passive aggressively put me down because they didn't like the fact that I was confident. So it doesn't mean it's just peers, it's bosses, it's colleagues. Sometimes it's your own mentors that
Yeah.
will tear you down.
Wow, that's like there's a broad range of people, right? It's everywhere in the world.
Yeah, it is. And I think that's the thing that, especially if you're somebody who's naturally kind, if you're naturally empathetic, if you're naturally open, the people talk about empaths, highly sensitive, just people who are nice. There's this myth of the too nice woman, right?
Yeah.
But people who are open and care, those are typically the ones who get attacked. And the ones doing the attacking are the ones who actually have the insecurity, the ones who have the fear, the lack, the doubt, right? the ones doing the attacking are the ones that have the problems, and the people who are the empathic, open, kind-hearted souls who are just being themselves are unfortunately the victims, right? You're on the receiving end of it. And the hard part about that is what happens to you on the other side is if you don't know that this is happening and you're not aware of sort of the dynamics and why people would be doing this, it's very easy then to believe what they're saying and to sort of take it and make it your own. And that was one of the big things that I struggled with. I mean, I really had to work hard with my transformational coaching work. Like I had to literally reprogram myself to believe that I was a good person. I actually started to believe the things that people were saying to me, like I was a bad person and I was mean and I was awful and I was unkind and I had this big ego. And, all of a sudden I think I'm a bad person
Yeah.
because I took it all in and I had to repair all that. So you kind of have to understand what's happening. You have to be aware and not allow that type of behavior to stop you from really being who you are.
That's amazing introduction into this next question because it's really piqued my interest on this. So, I mean, I know for me, I used to always ask, why is this happening to me? And I know for a lot of victims of female to female workplace bullying, we all ask, why is this happening to me? So, how can we help them recognize that these behaviors are not their fault?
Yeah, I mean, it's a tricky sort of conversation, right? Because you're not, you, people will say you're going into victimhood if you say, why is this happening to me? You're acting like a victim, right?
Yeah.
And yet you are a victim. You have been treated unfairly, poorly, unjustly. And I think that there's a difference between knowing that you're a victim of somebody else's poor behavior. So understanding that what happened isn't right, isn't fair, and yet also deciding that it's not going to change the way you feel about yourself. I think
Mm,
that's the shift, right? You can be a victim without being victimized in a way, if that makes sense. Just meaning that it doesn't have to change the way you see yourself. And it's very tricky. It's very hard. And I know because I also went through it, there was so many questions like, why is this happening to me? It must be me. It must be my fault. I must have done something wrong. I had all of that too. And I really felt like I must have done something. I must be a bad person, right? I must have said something, done something awful, and you draw all of these conclusions. So what's happening is it's chain reaction. So I look at it in terms of energy exchange, frequency, and it's almost like there you are, you're existing in your beautiful frequency, and you're just being you, and you're like expanded, right? So
mm,
you're taking up space, and there you are, you're not hurting anybody, you're just being. And then people come, and it's two different things happen. Either they project onto you and you get smaller, right? So
yep.
they sort of put stuff on you, you take it in, and that causes you to shrink and collapse. Or they take pieces of you, like they it's almost like a shark bite where they sort of remove pieces of yourself. So you're either sort of shrinking and collapsing on yourself and sort of getting smaller and smaller and smaller and disappearing, which is exactly what they want.
Yeah.
Or they're taking pieces, they're like taking bites out of you, like chunks out of your energy field and breaking you down. So either way, you end up feeling broken, small, unimportant, insecure, all the things that people say, right? Oh,
Yeah.
you're insecure, you have no self-esteem, no self-worth. You end up feeling that way though, right? You end up feeling like that's the truth. And I think that that's when we start to think, why is this happening to me? Because energetically speaking, emotionally speaking, you are being broken down. You're being sort of contracted and pushed down by somebody else's behavior. And that is a normal response to being bullied or being mistreated, being, treated poorly like that. You're going to have that reaction because
Yeah.
it's a normal response to it until you recognize, wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute. I understand that this is happening to me, right? It's why is this happening to me is a valid thought. until you recognize it and you go, okay, so this is happening to me and I don't have to let it affect me anymore. Then you break the cycle, then you take your power back, then you expand, right? Then you come back and you stop letting that stuff affect you. But it takes time, and I think it takes nuanced, it's a nuanced process for people. It's not just like, you just need to get over it. No, you need to understand that what happened to you was wrong, that you were treated poorly, that you were a victim of somebody else's poor behavior, and it affected you in a certain way. Then you can choose. It's almost like it brought you down, right? Down, down, down. You recognize that, then you build yourself back up and you say, okay, so I was a victim of treatment, and I'm choosing to not let it affect me that way anymore. And now I'm becoming so you rebuild yourself out the other side.
Yeah. A big question for me that really helped me was when I was going through it was, what evidence do I have that everything that's happening is my fault?
Oh yeah, and there's none.
But it's a question that you wouldn't ask yourself, right? Your
Right.
mind takes you in a different direction. And for me, that was the almost like a punch in the face when I asked myself the question of, what evidence do I have that everything that's happening is my fault?
Yeah,
And just
it's like
sit
a
with
pattern
that.
interrupt, right? Like it sort of wakes you up because you're like, you're believing it, believing it, believing it. You go, but where's the evidence? And you go,
Yeah,
I don't have any.
yeah, absolutely.
I didn't do anything.
I know, right? But it's not until that question you start looking for evidence, and there's no evidence to be found.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great question.
Oh, I love it. It's one of my big ones when people come to me and ask me, how do I, like, what's happening? Why is this happening? How do I make it stop? I'm like, well, what evidence do you have that you need to make it stop? What evidence do you have that this is happening because you did this? Like, what's your evidence? Where's your evidence coming from?
Right. Yeah.
So, yeah. So we know that organizational dynamics often foster competition among women. So whether it's intentional or not, it does happen. What things do you think workplaces can implement to encourage trust and collaboration instead of rivalry?
I think, well, first of all, I think fostering a healthy dynamic for a healthy work environment, right? I think that it's almost like, this sounds funny to say, but like you brush your teeth, right? You want to have a healthy smile, you brush your teeth, you floss. So in different work communities, because every space is different, right? So I don't think it's a one size fits all. You should implement this rule and this step. I think you should um, take a step back and look at your community and sort of the work environment and ask these questions of your own workspace and say, what are the things that we need to do in order to ensure that these types of experiences don't happen? So how can we foster healthy communication? How can we put communication, healthy communication in place so
Mm,
these types of things can't spin out of control? How about we educate people on what this, it's almost like, how do you stop sexual harassment, right? Will you educate people on what sexual harassment is?
yeah,
Because,
absolutely.
because at one point, I was being sexually harassed all the time, and I just thought that was the way it was until I realized, oh, that's called sexual harassment, all that stuff that I've been experiencing. So even the bullying and the toxic workplace and these dynamics you're talking about, we don't even know that they're happening until we become aware of what it looks like. So even having some sort of protocol in place for, these are the signs of toxic dynamics between women in the workplace. This is what unhealthy competition looks like, right? This is what, these types of bullying feel like and look like and sound like, because they're not conversations that we're typically having. I think it's interesting because everybody focuses on like the sexual harassment and the, men versus women, and people don't really talk about women and women, and it happens all the time. And I think it's this whole sort of area that we've been taught to kind of sweep under the rug and not address and not talk about, just like everything else. I think that's another point, is we have to have the space to talk about it. It's sort of like, if you see something, say something,
Yeah.
right? So you would do that if you were in a dynamic where you felt like there was sexual harassment, right? There's HR policies in place where you go and you say, this happened to me and I don't feel, I don't feel safe. You report it. So there should be practices and protocols that protect dynamics for women in the workplace between women. I feel like we're moving into an area where we need to recognize that it's not just sexual harassment. There's bullying, there's competition, there's other things that need to be addressed. And there needs to be a safe place to talk about it, because that's the whole thing, is if we don't feel like we're safe to talk about it, then nothing ever changes. So we've got to open up the dialogue. We've got to actually bring it to the forefront and admit that these types of things are happening, because otherwise everyone just turns a blind eye, just like it's like, the Me Too movement is a perfect example of that. It's just that now we're expanding into other ways that we've been, victimized and
Yeah.
bullied and mistreated. We just never talked about it before.
It's quite interesting that you talk about bringing it into the workplace in terms of training, right? Because I've said multiple times that I was never taught about covert bullying and what it looked like. It was always about the aggressive bully. It was never about, the backhanded comments. It was never about gossiping. It was never about, if someone goes and sees your manager about a project that you're working on, but doesn't come and see you first and then offers to, help without coming and see what you need help with. Like all these tiny nuances put together over a certain period of time by the same person directed at another person is bullying. And it's
Yeah.
and it's not trained. It's not brought out anywhere.
No. And I think that also it's very, as you're saying, it's very covert, right? So it's
Yeah.
sort of under the radar. It's the kind of stuff that people just sort of, again, it's like you sweep it under the rug type stuff, right? And so what needs to happen is no more sweeping things under the rug, right? If somebody feels uncomfortable, or if somebody feels like these types of things are going on, there should be a space to talk about it. There should be a place to bring this to the forefront and say, hey, I need to talk about this, right? It's a whole other ball game. It's like an untapped area that people don't necessarily talk about. And I think that just like the way we treat the sexual harassment, we need to be treating these other areas that have been happening forever. And if I took a step back and I looked at like my high school experience, which is when this first got really bad, right? That was my first experience with it. Well, it goes back further than that, but we'll look at high school, because the high school was the gnarly stuff. You know, I would walk down the hall and the girls would say mean things about me, and they would write about me on the bathroom wall. One girl said if I went to prom, she was going to kill me. It was like all of these little things where I think now things are a little bit different, where you can't get away with that as much. Like,
Yeah.
I think you could actually go to the school counselor and say, this girl said, she's going to kill me. And then all of a sudden the police would show up because of the way the world is now. So we're better off, but it's just interesting how people are like, oh, that's just girls being girls. That's just women being women, right? That's just what women do. But that's like saying that's just what men do, right? Men are just pigs. And it's like, oh, well, men just, say gross things about women at the water cooler. And it's like, no, they don't. And if they do, it needs to stop, because it's disrespectful. It's not allowed. And women talking about other women, women trying to undermine other women, that should also be treated the same way. It should be treated with the same level of respect, which is, that's not okay. And we don't do this.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And we know that self-awareness around this is the key to breaking those cycles. So people being aware of what's happening for women who may have unknowingly participated in the undermining behaviours, how could they recognize and address the pattern in themselves? Because they might not know about what they're doing.
Yeah, I mean, I think that for a lot of people like myself, if you're susceptible to peer pressure, right, you would definitely want to look at yourself there. I think a lot of times the dynamics are, again, there's always a ringleader. So there's always a mean girl, right? There's always somebody in charge. You look at that movie, right? There's always a Regina George. There's always somebody who's at the head of the pack controlling the narrative. And then there's the posse around the queen, right? Or the leader of the pack. And so you need to look a little bit at the relationships and the dynamics and the conversations you're participating in, because you could be on accidentally or unconsciously participating in behavior like this because you're in one of those posses with a ringleader, because the ringleaders are really good at gaining control, right? They gain your trust also.
Mm.
So one of those things where the sort of the sign of the ringleader is the one who befriends people, right? So sort of says, "Oh, you're so da, 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 da." It's like love bombing. It's kind of like a narcissist, the way a narcissist will love bomb you. The person that's kind of corralling everyone around her with all this love and, "Oh, you're so wonderful," and the compliments and the this and the that. Sometimes you want to be mindful of things like that, because that's how we get drawn in, right? I mean, I've been a part of it, right? You get drawn in by the people who act all like, "I love you, you're so wonderful." And then you watch that person go and attack someone else, and you're like, but she's so nice to me. I can't say, I can't go to this person's aid. I can't stand up for this person because this person is my friend, and this person is my friend. So you kind of have to watch the dynamics of your relationships and become more aware of sort of who you're investing your trust in and who you're following. If you're following somebody, I think that it's really easy. And I was never the head bully, right? I was never that person, but I was very often the sort of person lagging in the back who was susceptible to the peer pressure and the bullying, because
Yeah.
I wanted that person to like me. So if you find yourself in these dynamics where there's somebody who's making you feel like that, like making you feel like you have to do certain things to win their trust or win their like power or love, that's typically the ringleader or the person who's in charge. And in sort of corporate and business settings, that's typically someone in a position of power. So you got to watch these people in power and check yourself and say, am I comfortable with this? Does this make me feel good? Am I in alignment with the way this person is treating other people? Would I want to be treated that way? And am I wanting to be a part of this when it comes to the way this is making somebody else feel? Because if you are sort of checking in with yourself and in your heart of hearts, you know that something's not right, that's how you know that you're caught up in something. It doesn't make you a bad person. It just means that you didn't see it. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? It happens all the time. You're just going along, making friends or doing whatever. And then all of a sudden you realize, oh my gosh, this person is bullying somebody else. And
Yeah.
now I'm,
No, I do hear you because it happens quite a bit, right? Before you realize you're sucked into the vortex.
yeah,
So we know
yeah.
that. So for me, when being undermined deeply affected my confidence and trust, and does every person who has been undermined, it leaves a lasting emotional scars. And I know from experience, it's left emotional scars for me, which I'm still working through that on. So what advice would you give to someone looking to heal and rebuild their self-worth after experiencing these challenges?
Well, I think that the first thing you have to do is give yourself a lot of compassion, right? A lot of compassion and understanding, because the first thing that we want to do is blame ourselves.
Yeah.
So, we're typically very hard on ourselves. And that means if you already have low self-esteem, low self-confidence, low self-worth because of it. And then what do you go and do? You go and beat yourself up for ending up there, right? So if you've been a victim of being bullied, it's kind of this weird thing we do where we sort of take the energy or the experience of having been bullied, and then we kind of beat ourselves up. Like, you get rid of the bully maybe, but then you beat yourself up, then you attack yourself in order to sort of protect yourself. So you want to be sure that you're not doing that. Like, that's sort of the key, or the first thing is just check yourself and make sure that you're not doing to yourself what this other person was doing to you in the past, because that's typically what happens is that we take it out on ourselves. So then you beat yourself up and then you drive yourself in this crazy cycle of making yourself feel worse than you did before. So then you end up with even less self-esteem, less confidence, less self-worth because you're punishing yourself for the fact that it happened. So it's this cycle of being bullied and then blaming yourself for letting yourself be bullied. So then you bully yourself. So you want to break that cycle. And the way you do that is through being aware of what happened to you and recognizing that what happened and that it doesn't have to happen anymore and that it's not your fault, right? That's exactly what you said. You didn't do anything wrong. So you need to literally stop the cycle and then ask yourself, what is it that I need in order to move on? Because it's not more bullying. I got news for you. I know it's not more beating yourself up. It's not more blaming yourself or calling yourself names. It's giving yourself love, compassion, kindness, all the stuff that got taken away from you. You start giving yourself that back. And I see it like, I use the analogy of either being sort of like pressed down or shrunken or chunks of yourself being taken away. So you're bringing those pieces back. It's like, you know what? This person took my self-esteem and self-confidence. I'm taking that back, right? This person made me feel small and insecure, and I'm taking that back. So you bring the pieces back. And then if you have the collapsing thing, right, that you think about like the shrunken self, you got to start pumping yourself up. Like you got to Arnold Schwarzenegger yourself, right? Pump yourself. Or no, that's not Arnold Schwarzenegger. It's the guys from SNL. We're going to pump you up, right? I don't know if you remember them. Hans and Franz.
No.
Like, school SNL, there were these two really funny characters. They were like muscle men and they would go, we're going to pump you up. And they had like big muscles. But the point is, you have to literally like reinflate yourself. So you have to pump yourself back up. You have to fill yourself with love, with with the self-esteem, with the self-worth, but you literally have to fill yourself with it. It's like you have to re-inflate after
Yeah.
being deflated.
No, really good. So we know that you work with embodiment, visualization, and rituals. Could you share maybe one simple practice that our listeners can use to feel more empowered in moments of workplace tension?
Yeah, so I think this visualization of the expanded self is the answer to just about anything. Because what happens is when we're disconnected from ourselves, we're disempowered. Like it's very simple. Either you're connected to yourself and you're empowered, or you're disconnected from yourself and you're disempowered. So that could look like deflating. That could look like, disassociating. There's a lot of different ways that we give our power away. But this idea of checking yourself, and I teach everybody the same thing, which is you put your hands on your heart, right? You come back into your body. So you connect in with your body. You make sure that you're present in your body. So you get really, really clear and grounded. Like, here I am. I'm in my body. I'm present. I'm focused. I'm aware. Whatever it is that, you need to hear for yourself. And then I'm safe, I'm loved, whatever. You connect with that, and then you expand outward. And I call that the starfish. So it's sort of like you connect in with yourself, you ground, you solidify, and then you expand from there. And by starfish, I literally mean, hands reaching up. If you're standing, spread your legs a little bit and take up as much space as you need, because that's helping you on multiple levels. It's expanding your energy field. So that's sort of expanding your aura, which means your boundaries are expanding. So you've got this like big energetic bubble around you, which helps you protect yourself, which helps you feel more confident. It sort of fixes a lot of things. And then the other thing is it makes you really, really strong, because I've tested this, not with bullying, but with like catcalling in New York City. And I tried, what's the difference between me being sort of disconnected and fully empowered? And when I was fully plugged in, like I would do this and then walk down the street and I could feel the cat calls bouncing off my energy field and like literally ricocheting and going back to them. It's cheesy. I am rubber and you are glue. Whatever you say bounces off me and sticks to you. Like that's the mantra. It's real. It works because you're powerful, you're confident, you're strong. And that means that all the shit that people are slinging at you doesn't get in anymore. You don't take it in. You're like, return to sender.
Yeah.
Not for me. That belongs to you. No, thank you. Have a nice day. So it restores your self-esteem, it restores your self-worth, it anchors you in your body, it helps you feel more confident, and it also gives you the power back so that you don't have to let the things affect you that used to hurt you so much.
I love that. And I want yeah, the starfish is what I'm calling it. Isn't that what you
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, the
I,
starfish. Yeah.
I know. I started thinking star jumps for some reason and starfish just came back out because
You star jumps like people do in the gym. Sometimes we do like star jumps in the middle of workouts. And that's how it takes a lot of energy to star jump like that. But listen, if you want to starfish and then star jump, you can take right off the ground. But yeah, it's that idea of taking up as much space as possible. Like I teach people to take up space,
yeah,
which is the opposite of shrinking and being small and like, disappearing. It's like, no, you take up as much space as you want, girlfriend. Like you own it. You own your space because then the people can't get in. Like they can't get to you. Also, it protects your heart, right? That's the other thing is like when you're kind of like, it's very easy for people to hurt you. But when you're in this starfish, you're so powerful that they can't, it's very difficult for them to get to you because they can't get in. And
yeah.
then they give up. Like,
You're ve-
oh, this,
you're very internally powerful. That's what I love the message of. It's all about your internal power.
yes.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, because the internal power translates to the outward expansion, which
yeah,
protects you. So when you are connected internally and empowered in an internal way, you have access to the infinite strength that you need to protect yourself, which is
abs
great.
yeah, absolutely. So the holidays are a time for reflection and renewal. How can women use this season as an opportunity to reset their mindset and prepare for a stronger, more connected 2025?
Well, so we have, I mean, everybody does the whole like, it's the new year, setting intentions. And I think that the holiday season can be challenging in so many different ways, right? It can be challenging because you're around your family. It can be challenging because of stress, financial. You could be someone like me who chose to end a relationship. And so now you're single on the holidays, which is like, everyone's like, oh, you poor thing. I'm like, please don't, I'm not, it's okay. Don't cry for me. Don't, it's now boo hoo hoo. I'm all right. But it's a lot of different, that's a good example, right? Because you see your family and they're like, where's Patrick? And I'm like, oh, we broke up. And they're all like, oh, I'm so sorry. And then you're like, should I be sad? Am I bad? Like, you know what I'm saying? It's really easy to take other people's projections and make them your own. So this is a really good time to practice that and be like, oh yeah, thank you so much for your judgment or your sadness of me. But you know what? You can keep that because I'm actually fine. Like I have learned over the years how to sort of take energy that comes my way and kind of catch it and go, oh, it's like someone was like throwing a ball, like a snowball, and it used to hit me in the face. And now I go, huh, I got it. Someone tries to say something that would hurt me, and I'm like, and I just go, oh, you know what? Thank you so much. But actually, I'm totally fine. And I'm the one who made the decision. So here, you can have your pity back. And I'm like, here you go. Oh, your judgment, that you can keep that. you know, oh, that feeling of shame that you want to project onto me, that's yours. So here, Merry Christmas, you can have that. So it gives you a chance to practice giving things back. It's like you don't have to take it in, you don't have to receive it. You can literally just say, thank you so much, but that's not mine. And so
And
it's a really great way.
and I think you can do it in a safer environment before you go back to work too, if you're
Yes.
going to practice that. Um, you know, prepare maybe your friends and family that you're practicing this new thing because something's happening to you at work and you're trying to go into 2025 not being in that same position. And there's a few techniques that you're trying to practice.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and you can practice it. Listen, you can take these and you can practice them like I did, just walking down the street. Do you know what
Yeah.
I mean? I practiced it just in New York City on my own because I didn't even like the catcalling stuff. That's not cool. People saying stuff about you and like, no thanks. And so taking something even like that, walking with confidence, right? You can practice walking with confidence. You can practice walking with authority. You can practice taking up energy, taking up space. And you can do that anywhere. You can go to the mall and do that. You can go to dinner and do that. You can walk down the street and do that. You could do it at the gym. I do a lot of energy. I mean, I'm sure the people at my gym are like, "What is this woman?" And she seems kind of cool, but also, what is she doing in there? And I'm in the gym and I'm in the studio and I'm like, taking up to doing starfish and stuff. I'm doing my starfish meditation, and I know they're looking at me going, I don't really get it, but I also kind of want to do it because she looks cool and happy. And I'm like, yeah, this is what it feels like to be confident in your body. So you can do it wherever you want, wherever you feel comfortable, wherever you have the time and the space and the energy to practice and play is a great time to do it.
That's
No
amazing.
rules.
Absolutely, no rules. So let's say, looking forward, what's one message you'd like to leave our listeners with as they strive to create more respectful and empowering workplace relationships in 2025?
I think that the one thing, so I've been at this a really long time now. Like we're talking, 15 years on this journey. And I've only just now really learned the power of standing in your authority. And I think that for so long, I was so scared to do it because I was afraid of what people would think of me if I said no.
Yeah.
Right? If I put my foot down, if I said, "Hey, I don't like the way you're treating me, and you're not allowed to treat me like that anymore." I resisted it, and I tried to be nice, and I tried to be patient, and I tried to be kind, and this is what led to me ending my relationship because the dynamics were not balanced. It wasn't in integrity. I wasn't being treated with respect. And it took me 2 years to work up the courage and the confidence to say, "Hey, listen, I tried to get you to talk to me about this for X amount of time. You still won't do it. And so now I'm taking space for myself, right? This ends here now
Mm.
because I'm standing in my power and I'm not willing to take this anymore." And it was scary. And doing it though really shifted my perspective of myself. Like it gave me so much confidence. And I felt so powerful and so much better about myself, right? Because when I didn't do that, I still felt insecure. I felt like, well, what's wrong with me? And like, why can't I get him to change? Why can't I get him to listen to me? I'm talking about a romantic relationship, but I think it's the same dynamic at work, right? I think it's in so many places, we keep it in and we think that because this person won't stop doing what they're doing, it's something that's wrong with us. And once I realized, no, you know what? I just have to say no. I just have to say no. I have to put my foot down. I have to stand in my power and say, you're not allowed to treat me this way. That's what ended the cycle, right? And it was scary. And I've had to do it in other capacities. And you know what? It's only scary like the first couple times you do it, and then you start to get better at it, and then your quality of life goes up, and your level of stress goes down, and your insecurity goes down, and your confidence goes up, and your self-esteem skyrockets. It's like the greatest thing on earth. So when you start to think about what is the thing that you can do that will change your life more than anything else, it's practice standing in your authority, practice believing that your thoughts, feelings, emotions, needs, desires matter, and do what it takes to take care of yourself.
Yeah. Amazing. I love that. It just wraps it all up into a nice little Christmas present.
A little gift for you, right?
A
that's
little
the
bit.
that's the secret to my success. I mean, at least this far in life, right? But that idea of really owning it and giving yourself permission to do whatever it takes
Yeah.
to make sure that you're taking care of yourself and protecting yourself, because that is the one thing that I didn't know for so long. Was I didn't know that I could protect myself, right? I didn't know that I could stand up for myself. I didn't know that I could fight back. I didn't. I sort of kept it all in, and I lived with that, and that robbed me of my self-esteem and my self-worth. And as soon as I said no, it all kind of just changes.
Yeah, you're giving back to yourself.
Yeah.
So where can listeners connect with you and learn more about the work you do, Katie?
So the easiest ways to find me, you can find me on my website. It's my name. It's katiekozlowski.com. That's a great place to find me. And then I'm active on Instagram, and my Instagram is at I am Katie Kozlowski. Those are the two easiest places to find me. I'm very active on Instagram. So if you liked this interview and you want to say hello, you want to ask me questions, there's a contact me button on my website, and also my DMs are open. So all you got to do is, follow me and say hello, just drop me a DM, say I was listening, ask me questions, things like that. My inboxes are always open.
Amazing. And we'll actually drop the links for that into the show notes as well. So if that's going to be easier for people, just jump into the show notes and we'll have all Katie's contact information there for you. Now, Katie, Thank you so much for being here today. I am truly grateful for you showing up on Christmas Eve to do this with me. I hope that all our listeners got as much value out of that as I did.
Thank you. It was an honor to speak about something that is not so great to experience, but a common human experience that we all share. And I'm honored to share, and also I'm kind of glad that I have some experiences that allow me to know so much. So my it's my honor to take my shitty experiences and turn them into gifts for you.
Oh, that's
How are
beautiful.
you to live your life?
Oh, that's beautiful. I'm so glad that you showed up for us. And I'm glad that you are now, I'm not glad actually, I'm elated of the woman that you've become.
Thank you.
So,
I'm very elated too.
yeah, I can see that. Now, before we wrap up, I'm excited to give you a sneak peek into next week's episode, Finding Your Voice, Small Steps to Setting Boundaries, where we'll explore how to reclaim your power by setting clear and confident boundaries, paving the way for healthier relationships, and empowering workplace dynamics. Don't miss it. And it's going to be on New Year's Eve when everyone's planning on setting their New Year's resolutions. And speaking of breaking the cycle of undermining behaviours, I am thrilled to announce that the Reclaim Your Voice coaching program is launching in January 2025. This is a 12-season, 24-week transformative journey is designed specifically for women who have experienced covert bullying and are ready to take back their confidence, rebuild their voices, and step into their full power. So, thank you all for joining us today. I am blessed to have you here on Christmas Eve. If you are ready to reclaim your power and make 2025 your year of transformation, I'd love for you to join us on the Reclaim Your Voice program. Spots are limited, so reach out to me and secure your place. Let's rise together, gorgeous, and create workplaces we deserve. As we wrap up this Christmas Eve episode, remember, the greatest gift we can give ourselves and others is empowerment. Let's step into 2025 as women who lift, support, and collaborate. Together, we can create workplaces where every woman feels heard, valued, and respected. You have the power to rise, reclaim your voice, and thrive. Flamingo Up means standing tall, owning your space, and facing challenges with grace and strength, just like a flamingo. If today's episode resonated with you and you're looking for more support, I would love to invite you to the Be Heard community. It's an intimate group where I offer live coaching every Wednesday, helping you take these insights even further. You can find a link to request an invite in the show notes. And don't forget to like and subscribe so you never miss an episode of Flamingo Up. I'm wishing you all light, love, and plenty of flamingo spirit this holiday season. Flamingo Up, gorgeous. I will be your sparkle sidekick, and we will see you next week.